Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. This week we are going to ask the question, is all this reuse of action figures too much? I am your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I am joined by the founder of the Neca Illuminati, the procrastinator of pre-orders, the delayer of shipments, the YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar _games. But that's not all. I am also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over, the man Optimus Prime popped in, he refuses to stop, the Twilight Knight, the master of Mac, the three-pump chump of taking the show off the rails, Nate. How you boys doing this week?
Kenobi. There. Every time you say delayer of shipments, I keep thinking you're going to say delayer of show.
And I mean, it's at this point I should change it to that.
No one would get that because
they wouldn't, because they don't realize that we're late, because to them we're on time.
That's how magic of editing. Just edit this and make me earlier.
I don't think it works that way, because I'm not gonna put the episode 15 minutes early to Oh man. So this week we're gonna talk about the fact that a lot of these companies are using a lot of reuse parts, even just straight up just redoing figures with just different deco just to get them out. And the fact that, some people in the community are still butthurt that we're seeing old sculpts and old molds still being used, and then there's some companies that really don't use any reuse at all. So the biggest offender of this, which I don't know if you can really call it an offender, the biggest user of this method is Hasbro, because they have the most toy lines that go out, so they're going to have the most figures that are going to have a lot of the same parts. They have the fans are so in the know to the point where they have references of like the Bucky Cap body, which has been used for several years now, and now it's moving on to the Vulcan body, which everyone's like, well, everything should be that. But then when some things were shown off at PulseCon that were still using the Bucky Cap body, people were butthurt that they were using that instead, because if you have this, why are you using that? And then, of course, they do have a lot of figures that don't have reuse, because they'll go and retool things to be specific for characters, like the new Cyclops figure. His straps on his legs and stuff like that are all molded on this time, so they don't shift around while you're trying to pose them. And then there are other companies like McFarlane, not a lot of reuse. Like, he'll have some parts here and there that are between like the 50 Batmans, but beyond that, most of his figures are usually, unless it's a variant of the same figure, a lot of new tooling. And then beyond that, I mean, Mattel is a huge offender of this. Like, most of the wrestlers all have the same physique, despite the fact that they don't in real life. Jazzwares with their AEW line, not as bad, but they definitely have quite a bit of reuse. I'm trying to think who else would be out there. I mean, technically Mezco does, but they cover the bodies with cloth, so you can't really tell of what body
it would be the biggest offender of it if we're going.
I mean, technically yes, because they do a lot of figures on the same body, but you don't. It's not the same as having it painted to where you can tell.
I know.
Like, you'll know when you're posing it. You're like, oh, I can tell just by the way this like moves that, oh, it's this body, the same one that's been used for this, and this. But beyond that, not really. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's any other retail level lines that have a lot of reuse. Nate, do you have anything?
No, I mean, I think you hit on most of them. You didn't mention NECA.
That's right. That's the other big one I was thinking of. NECA has a lot of reuse. I mean, hell, they fucking made what's his name, the kid from the first TMNT movie. They made him too short because they insisted on reusing a kid's body. So yeah, so the question I want to ask is like, we obviously know the business ramifications of this. They do this because to save money, so that way they can put money into new sculpts for other things, and we can get more characters in the line. However, some of them use this improperly at times, or they'll overdo it, where we'll get 6 Spider-Man figures at one time just so they can get the most out of something. What are how do you guys feel about it? Is this good? Is this something that they need to kind of cool off on, maybe?
I'll let you go. I'll let you go, Nate.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you're more inquisitive.
I feel
At
like
least
he's like, Nate's
looking.
gonna have a long answer so I can think about mine.
Well, so if you ask, is there too much reuse? Yes, absolutely is. It's inhibiting some lines. I'm, as you've seen over the last year or so, I've made a major switch from Black Series to Vintage Collection, and Vintage Collection has not as many figures out as Black Series because of the fact that there maybe isn't as much of a library or the budgeting or whatever. There has to be a lot of reuse available, or reuse or I guess what's called pre-use.
Mm-hmm.
Figures are designed with the idea of being able to use certain parts later on,
Mm-hmm.
as they go on. And that helps, with the budgeting and things like that. Where you have a line like Black Series, which uses a lot of new stuff, and the same with like the MCU part of Marvel Legends, which I think is why overall Marvel Legends does have so much reuse. So, is there too much? Absolutely. But when you say like we understand the ramifications, I don't know that necessarily everyone does.
Oh, now, when I said we, I meant the royal we, like
Right,
us.
right.
We understand
Yeah,
it.
well, and I do appreciate being referenced as royal.
Yeah,
But
me too.
the other
man.
part of it is, some of the companies that maybe don't, like, say for instance McFarlane. I don't have a lot of McFarlane multiverse figures. The only McFarlane figures I have are a few random ones here and there. I don't have a lot of multiverse stuff, with the exception of like the Batman movie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I do notice there's a lot of covering being used. So like, I don't know that it's necessarily not a lot of reuse, but they have a more interesting way of covering it. So
I get that. The only reason why I say they don't is because a lot of the figures, like the Batmans, every single one of them, the chest emblem is sculpted differently. So at least
right.
that point, the upper torso is different. He may use the same abs, but beyond that, like it's
Well,
not to the level of what we see with Marvel Legends, where an entire figure could be identical to the one next to it if it wasn't for the paint abs.
this is true. This
Mhm.
this is true. But like I got the Suicide Squad figures from the movie, the most recent movie, the James Gunn movie,
Mhm.
and I got rid of all of them because I hated them so much, because of all the rubber that was
Mhm.
on them, and all the overlays that were on them. Because I don't, one, I don't like it, and two, I don't think that it's going to be sustained. You know, I have figures that are, some figures I have in my collection are 40 years old. I just don't know, how the real world
Mhm.
ramifications are going to be for having that figure, that long, I guess. So it is a good way of using it. It's a great way to show, hey, we do have new sculpted parts, but are they actual plastic parts and not rubberized parts? So it's funny because a lot of people, when they talk about it, they really only talk about it as in modern terms, and it's
Mhm.
definitely become more of a thing. Tooling wasn't really something that we talked about in the 90s, really,
Yeah.
because we just didn't talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
talked about what
we'd
cool
go to the
figures were
stores and we'd be
coming
too
out.
busy finding all the new toys to
Right,
give a
right.
shit.
Right. But I mean, honestly, you go back, the first wave of GI Joe in 1982 had almost all reused. I mean, there was like maybe like 3 bodies that they were using that they swapped out parts for. Snake Eyes, the most popular character, GI Joe character of all time, is the most famous of all because it just used a bunch of different parts from figures and no paint apps to save on money. That was the whole point. He was an extra figure so they could save money. He-Man, so Masters of the Universe. I mean, especially those first couple of years, there was either they all had the same body. except some had a hairy chest and some didn't, and some had claws. I don't know why this is laying here, but this is a perfect example. So some had claws,
just a
like
disembodied hand on your desk.
Yeah. Some didn't, some had regular hands, that sort of thing. But there was a library that was pulled from, and so it's always been a part of the hobby, and it's always been a part of action figures, although not to the level that we're seeing. But I also, even going back to the 80s and such, the heyday or the golden times or whatever, we would get, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 figures in a year, and they were all out, pretty much at the same time, where, we get, I think there was 100 Black Series figures last year, or this, last year, 2021. So to keep up with that level of demand, there has to be some give and take there, and it has to be in the form of reuse. And while, yes, of course, I think there's too much, I don't know that there's any way around it. And, if you can give other examples besides McFarlane or maybe SH Figure Arts, something like that, but that's why they're $80.
I was going to say, like, the import companies are the only ones who really don't do it. Like, Mofex will do it if they're doing a straight-up variation, like the blue versus black Cal Batman, or with the first release they did of Spider-Man with the new classic color version is pretty much just the same figure with different paint apps. But other than that, like 9 times out of 10, it's no reuse. It's all new parts for everything. Everything's new tooling, specific to each character.
Yeah, but again, they're 80 baseline, unless it's like one of those Dragon Ball budget figures. Which I think do use existing pieces, if I'm being honest, and you get not as many accessories. But most of the regular retail or the regular releases start out at $60 and go up from there. Yeah. With some of the larger ones being $100. So yeah, it's hard to like pinpoint exactly what you'd want to have compared to what is economically feasible. And I also think we are still, we're a shrinking market. We are a niche thing. We are dudes in our 30s and 40s and 50s, and ladies. Please don't let me leave anybody up. But when I say dude, that's non-gender specific.
Like all of the analytics say that our audience is all male. So
okay.
So well, I really hope that we do have some
I don't blame
people
them.
of other genders watching the show, but according to YouTube, it's 100% male, and it's that 19 to 45 demographic. So you're pretty spot on, unfortunately.
So we're hitting the prime time. I mean, we're not attracting a CBS level audience. We're going more for whatever the kids
we're doing the Monday
days.
Night Football ratings.
Yeah. There we go.
No.
Yeah.
That could be problematic.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, again, it's somewhat devil's advocate. I understand. I realize. I don't get too mad about it, but obviously, I wish there was more. New stuff, because that really does hold back stuff. But then again, on the other hand, it is also kind of fun when you see a new figure announced, and you're like, "Oh, what parts does this use?"
Oh God,
and
disappeared.
Yeah, he's a ninja. Look at that symbol. That's amazing. What does that mean?
That's an OBS. That's the OBS logo. So I don't know what's going on.
I am still.
Oh no! Oh, this is awkward.
I have. Wait, where's my webcam? Just disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back.
What did you do?
I have no clue. No clue.
Oh my God.
I went to touch my mouse and my mouse wasn't moving. And then I looked up and saw that I am no longer there. Oh, you know what? Oh, no, okay, we can continue. But
we can think. I'm glad. No, I mean, we were mid sentence when that happened, so I don't know. I can edit it a little bit. But I don't know if there's gonna be a whole lot I can do for it. But I was just confused because it seemed like you went in your settings and changed to your OBS virtual camera or something. I was very confused.
No, so it wasn't virtual. I don't know why it would show OBS anyways. I'm not using OBS.
That's what I was confused, is I was like, that's not even the Discord logo. That is the OBS logo. So I was very confused.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, for context though, I think what it was is that NVIDIA broadcasting was up because I just realized now my wallpaper or my back isn't like doing that fake blur. So that must have opened when I restarted my computer. So
Okay.
it might have just crashed and then that's why it happened. But yeah, for our transparency purposes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because all right.
I didn't
So
just secretly turn into a ninja, although I've always been a ninja.
I
And now
thought
I am
they
completely
abducted you. I thought they were like, we are going to take
well,
your only member of diversity away from your show for as punishment for talking about all this reuse.
no, so it's still not too late. I'm assuming I can say because what I have been waiting on is to bring up one company that you failed to mention that is the masters of reuse. They
Oh,
have
I already know who you're talking about.
perfected the ability to continue to reuse over and over and over and over.
Now
and
I
over
know
and
why
over
you got
again.
kidnapped.
And I almost think that it is because there's an example of good reuse, and you know, again, I'm not in the Joe community and following all the Marvel Legends and stuff, and people being like, "Oh my god, this is the same." But what I can speak on is reuse. There's reuse that's done and it's kind of hitting, and then there's reuse that is just blatant and they don't really give a fuck. And obviously, I'm talking about Playmates because for I don't know 10 years, it seems like they came out with the mode for the Ninja Turtles, like the little bit taller than 6-inch ones with
Mhm.
the heavy articulation, and they haven't stopped making that exact same design for almost 10 years.
I feel like there
And
was a little bit of a gap because there was a gap where those turtles were worth money because you couldn't find them, and there
well,
was,
I
and
think
it
they
was
because they
before
weren't
NECA
making.
kind of started doing it.
Yeah, it was because they weren't making anything
Exactly.
else. Yeah. So they just stopped making it. And then someone was sweeping up the factory and was like, oh shit, these modes are still here. And Play was like, oh, I thought we lost those. Put them back in rotation and let's just paint them different things. Sometimes not even different. Let's just
Did
put
that
them in the
same
box
janitor go
together.
back and find the molds for every Playmates figure ever then, since they're re-releasing everything now?
Which is again now, so this is a balance though, because what I want to say is it's not 100% bad that it's a reuse of all the modes, because in their defense, they are kind of opening up the nostalgia brand, I guess, or whatever you want to say, to those collectors who don't have the original ones or just remember like, oh man, I remember having this or getting this for Christmas, and
Mhm.
that's still cool. That is really cool. I don't think there's any nefarious intent behind that.
No, it's
Obviously,
just
they're
this is the only
yeah,
intent.
yeah, but I get it. They're making the money. It's more egregious when you see the same mode or the same figure, those articulated turtles, over and over and over again. And at this point, they're just packaging them with whatever the hell they can. Um, that is more upsetting for me versus that's like a negative way that I feel like the retooling can be done. And I don't know, maybe Playmates, if they weren't making these, they wouldn't really make money or do anything else. So I guess it's not like stopping them from, you know, experimenting in new lines. If anything, maybe it's funding them to make something in the future,
That
like
was
the last
my
Ronin figure,
thing
you
was
know.
I'm thinking it's probably more so them gearing up to have money put back to do toys for the new turtle like shows and movies and shit,
Yeah.
so that way if they need to do new tooling they aren't like digging in deep into the fucking couch cushions trying to pull out the money to do it. It's gonna
Right.
be more of a like, okay, we're ready for this, we've been making money off of this other stuff so we can keep the lights on.
Yeah, but I don't know if you would even consider like retro re-releases
It's
like
technically
retooling,
I
you know,
mean it
but
technically is.
it is. Yeah, it is. But you are getting like new packaging and stuff like that. It's kind of like updated, which is
Mhm.
cool. Would I prefer they go in a different way? Maybe they'll continue and get some things like just follow the line that Super Seven's doing and just kind of give us stuff that is really hard to get and let someone have a re-release version of that. That would be cool. But yeah, it's I always want to get up angry at Playmates because you know they have made my collecting and my childhood really great, but at the same time, as an adult, I feel like they're paying me back by a lot. And but I don't expect the world from them. But I think they're probably the most offensive. Um, are we saying offenders? Because that
I mean,
seems
technically,
weird.
yeah, I guess if we're looking at this in
Everyone
a
does
negative
it.
light, if we're looking at this as
Yeah.
like we don't want it to be overused, you're an offender.
Wait, which I think we all kind of, or me and Nate have said that like we know it exists, we don't like it, but we don't hate it. and we understand. I do, however, hate the articulated turtles. Just someone at the factory, please get rid of it, just so they can stop making these crazy. Like they're just gonna be partnered with like the U.S. U.S. Post Office.
I'm not gonna lie.
Turtles.
If they give me a fucking like 6-inch-ish scale postman, I'll buy it. Fucking have him in the back delivering fucking mail in the pictures while they've got the fucking Avengers fighting Thanos or some shit. Count me in.
It's just it's just upsetting to see. Some of them are cool, some of them are like awful, and I just want to see them do more. Which is why I'm hoping that like you said, the last Ronin figure is a new tooling, and then it's gonna be new turtles going forward. We'll see. But yeah, I it's a necessary evil though, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to call it evil, but it's you kind of have to.
So I guess that'll get me into a question I was going to ask at the end of the show. Because if we're talking about necessary evil, the question is it? Because if they did focus on doing what the import companies do and have all new tooling except for some cheap figures at Target, would you pay more? Would you pay more for your action figure if every figure was personally sculpted to be more accurate to its source material?
I know that we are like that's a different question than what is happening, but I think
that's very different from what's actually happening right now. Yes.
Well, yes and no, because there is still new stuff coming out, and even that new stuff, people aren't willing to spend $25 on. So Hasbro just released this week that they've lost all kinds of money, boo-hoo, that's because of their price increases. So no, I would not be willing to spend more.
Even if it was done right, it wasn't. We're not talking about how they're doing things currently. We're talking about if it was done right, the figures were all individualized tooling, like a Mafex or a Figure Arts line. Would you pay more money?
I would say no at this point because I like too many different things. And if you don't understand what I mean, then check us out every Wednesday at 10 at moderntoyfair.twitch.sparklefarts. Whatever.
It's twitch.tv/moderntoyfair.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to get there. Just click right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
I mean, you could also use the example behind you where you literally have like 8 different lines on a shelf.
Yeah.
That's guarding an old DBZ line.
Right. So no, like I collect SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball, but that's the only import line. I don't do Mezco otherwise. I don't do Mafex. I don't do Storm. I don't do...
I don't count Mezco as import because import companies actually get their figures out.
And also,
well, there's that, but they're at that price. They're at that price.
Their import prices, but
they are a premium toy company. I guess a pre-order company at this point.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, they're a doll clothes company.
There we go, because they're Ken dolls. They're just 6.5-inch Ken dolls. That I know that they're not 12 inches.
Yeah, fucking can't believe I had to explain that to Jarmar after like years.
112.
Yeah, because it's one of them in a box, and they're 12.
But it's 1/12 scale.
I know,
not 1/12-inch scale.
I understand that.
Oh my god.
Why do we have to come up with new scales to measure action figures? Makes no sense to me.
That's just what people refer to it as forever. Like
we've been using inches for years. I don't know. I mean, hell, even
they're the same thing. It literally it's a 1/12 scale of a normal human. So if the average human is
why are
6
we doing
feet,
that?
1/12 would be in their.
Well, that's always been a thing. Like
I understand.
Soldiers were a certain ratio scale. There's ratio scales for cars.
I do understand that, I guess, but at the same time, I mean, come on, this is millennial. You expect a Gen Z to understand 6-inch scale?
Gen Z doesn't fucking collect this shit. That's why they don't watch the show.
Oh, that's true. What they collect is digital.
Exactly. They do that bullshit NFTs. Wait,
excuse me. I am Gen Z now.
Oh, he's leaving. We did it. That's unfortunate.
Guys, start talking about NFTs again. I'm out. You are not Gen Z. You are a millennial.
I know.
I'm right on the cuffs. I'm right on the cuff.
You are on the cuffs.
You are not.
I'm younger than you, and I'm not on the cuffs.
You don't have to know that for sure. So for me, The answer would be no, because if we're thinking reality, I know you're thinking perfect world, but when we talked about the NFTs, you didn't like my perfect world.
First off,
But anyways,
hold on. So
look, he knew he was gonna say that, and then like he's ready to argue.
Any other time you're like in a perfect world, but now you're like we're not in a perfect world.
No, I know, but that's why I said like you wouldn't let me give you the perfect world example, so you fought to the death on that.
God, I hate you so much.
So in this example, I would say no. In most examples, I would say no. I wouldn't pay more, depending on the line. So like Marvel Legends, I do like kind of like a hey, I like this, hey, I like that. So I'm not like all in on the line completely. So would I want those to be more to be 100% faithful to the character from the movie or whatnot? No, because I probably wouldn't recognize it anyways. Like if I looked at all my Marvel Legends and you told me this was, Zack Snyder's body, I'd be like, okay, cool. I didn't even know he was in the MCU. I didn't even know that was a superhero. I thought that was a director. So I would have I wouldn't even know the difference, to be honest. But we already have a price increase because of inflation and plastics and all this other stuff, right? So what I would actually kind of come back at you is that retooling or reusing the same tooling is almost like a good thing, because if the prices are going up now, imagine if they were making separate modes. Marvel Legends would be $50 a piece. It just would be insane. So I think that's why I say it's almost a necessary evil, and evil being in air quotes, is that we can't have it both ways. And I'm one of the people who would be like, nope, I would just hide it. Whatever you got to do, make it cheaper. I'm looking at it from this far away on the shelf, so I'm not like studying it this close. So if it is a little bit, fine. Use the same shoes from, I can't think of any random off the wall names. So, but you get my point. Zack Snyder was the height of what I can do.
That was a weird fucking.
That was the whole point.
Of all the things, you're like a dude who's never gonna probably have an action figure is who you just chose as your example of like I would know that was Zack Snyder.
That's the whole point. But who's to say Zack Snyder might make a cameo in the next MCU movie?
I don't know.
I heard that on TikTok.
I don't believe that.
It is on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm sure that's everything on TikTok's so real. I bet you like fucking
in a perfect
Tide
world
Pods too.
In a perfect world, Zack Snyder would show up.
Oh my god.
What about you though, Michael?
So
would you? I feel like I know the answer.
I think I'm with you. I think it depends on the line. I think it like if it was like I mean obviously we already are with NECA because all the new comic book turtle stuff are all new tooling. We're not getting any reuse of those. Even like I guess the last Ronin, his lower half is reused for the second figure, but beyond that,
like in the same line.
Because so like it's not like when we were getting the same turtles re-released 6 times a year to keep them out on shelves. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, but I mean, Ultimates and those single release turtle figures are close to $40.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
They're basically $40.
I'm saying we already are paying more money for that.
Right.
So like it kind of it's one of those things where depending on the line I'm willing to. Like if it means to get those characters from the version of them I want, I'll fork over the money. But like if Marvel Legends was like, hey, $40 and every figure is going to be individually sculpted, I'd be like, Like I'd still pick up one or two here and there to fill in gaps that I know Mafex is never going to get to in my lifetime, but I certainly wouldn't it wouldn't make me suddenly a Marvel Legends collector over a Mafex collector or something like that.
Right. And especially in the case with Marvel Legends, with so many comic book figures, using the same body over and over again, just in different colors, that actually makes a ton of sense, especially now that they're they said they were going to retire the Bucky Cat body, and who knows, with that new Vulcan body. But they did say it was going to take a while to get into place. But, that kind of thing, it does work, because, and I know some people would like to have more sculpted on details, and that's what like Toy Biz did. And they had articulated fingers and they had hands, and that company went belly up. Because they were selling that amazing level of articulation for under $10. Granted, that was 20 some years ago, so things have definitely changed there too. But it obviously was too much for them. Yeah. So,
I think my biggest thing is it needs to be used smart, and it has to be done in, I guess, like a respectful manner to your consumer.
Yeah.
Because I am still very salty over the Shadow of the Empire Black Series Luke Skywalker, because they could, like, you 100% could reuse every part on that, but you'd have to take parts from other characters to complete it, and instead they just painted the swamp Luke in his clothes black. That's all they did. They like literally could have just added a belt to him, and it would have made a night and day difference. But they didn't even do that. That feels lazy to me, and that's just a money grab repaint versus, oh, in order to get these deep dive characters, they're going to be using the same body as this other character. That, at least, okay, I get that. They still look like that character, and like they're not shitting on the source material in any way, kind of deal, where it's like, oh, well, he had belts and this and that. Well, they do. Look at fucking Cyclops. They're sculpting his belt things on his legs. So they are willing to spend the money when they need to in the Marvel Legends line. So as long as they do it well and do it in a way where it's not just a cash grab, it's not just a slap in the face of the person you're selling it to, I'm okay with it. But if you're just gonna fucking repaint something just to put it on the shelf and hope some schmuck pays $30 for it, then fuck you. That's what
I assume we're fine with like we were talking about con exclusives and stuff like that, or so like that's cool for repaint. I mean, I feel like from the conversation last week, we were kind of like that would be an ideal, like, kind of.
But at that point, you either have to do it as a weird, like, artsy repaint, or if it is you're doing a different version of that character, and that character literally just has some color swaps, fine. But if that character has a bunch of extra details, like, then you probably should add them to it and not just paint that old costume a different deco to get close to it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I guess we forgot, like, well, I guess it depends on how you feel about the company, but Funko probably is the biggest vendor.
We don't fucking talk about Funko Pops here. What is wrong with you? No.
But I just thought of that when you said, some art style, because I keep seeing
they do
the
all
turtles
those,
with just like it looks like a Louis Vuitton bag.
I was thinking more of like, it looks like fucking Christmas wrapping paper.
Yeah, that's
like it's just their face over and over again, different like tilts and twists and stuff. And I was like, well, at that point, why don't you just wrap your box up in wrapping paper and call it a day?
It's artistic, okay?
Yeah. And so don't get me wrong, some of those like artistic like ones that they do for like exclusives at Target and stuff do look cool. It's just those weird ones where it's just their face over and over again. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Good for you if you're into that.
The ones that look really cool under like a black light.
The black light ones look fantastic. Yeah. There's also like the Star Wars ones. When they do those, they're like actually having artists go and make like just art on them versus it just being their face or like a logo or something. I really like, as much as I hate to say it, I was at Target last Saturday after I went to the disappointment that is known as Toy-Hio, and they had a 5-pack of the Star Wars, but it was the like concept art Star Wars ones, but they were done in like the comic book. Maybe it was comic book Star Wars, I guess, not concept art, but they were done with like comic book like art. So like they had the cell shading, the line work and stuff. I'm like, that's fucking cool. I bet it's like $70 and I don't need it. But I was looking at it and they had like a fucking case of like 20 of them. I'm like, well, this ain't gonna move, so I'll just wait for this to go on clearance and maybe I'll think about it then. Because I was looking at like, if they had just the Stormtrooper by itself, like that one really stood out to me because it just looked great with like the whites and blues and the blacks and stuff like that. I probably would have been like, fuck it, I'll do it. Take him out on my desk or something, but I don't need him, Vader, 3PO, Luke, and probably R2 or whoever the fuck else was in there. So yeah, I was good on that. But yeah, Funko is a huge offender of that. But their figures,
they don't count. I don't think
it's not the same.
You know what you get.
I'm also cool. Like if you need to reuse arms and legs and shit like that, go for it. Like, hey, as long as you're doing something new to the figure to kind of spice it up, I'm down with that. I don't care. It's just yeah. I just hate to see you be like, oh, I painted Spider-Man a slightly different shade of blue. Here you go. Like that shit just kind of gets annoying after a while.
Didn't you
but isn't that a different Spider-Man?
Wait, like, I'm pretty sure you bought.
just change his color slightly, that's a different Spider-Man.
I mean, depends
Like,
on what we're talking about. If we're talking like going from the first appearance where it's like a super dark blue versus like current day blue, but like they literally just like they go to the blue shading and just go boop, and like it's a new Spider-Man, guys. And it's like
yeah, that's how Webman came out. Like,
oh my
which
god,
they just slightly changed the color, and it's
well,
a different
that's a
Spider-Man.
reversing the colors. I'm talking like this is literally just a shade change. Like the red is just slightly more red than the last one or some bullshit. And then I see people always complain like it's still not the like color scheme you think of when you see Spider-Man because it's still just not quite right. And I'm like, that's fair. That's 100% fair.
Also, lastly, I just want to throw out we mentioned McFarlane not doing a lot of retooling.
Mm-hmm.
Are we not counting when they just spray paint the figure silver or gold?
Well, that's what I said. That I said unless they were just repainting the same figure as a variant, they don't do a lot of reuse.
And they do a lot of that with, and I said doo-doo. Like they won't pack in an alternate head. They'll sell a different, a different package with that alternate head, with the figure being exactly the same.
Yeah,
and which I mean, that's how he keeps his prices at $20. I guarantee it.
Right?
Because you have to spend $40 just to get that extra head, where you're spending $30 to get it with the figure with Marvel Legends. So
hey, $40 for extra head is.
Something's gonna come out from McFarlane that's gonna be like, oh, they have been negative money. They're funded by.
I thought you were gonna say, that fucking Todd's had a fucking drug ring that he's running behind the scenes or something.
Listen, man, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense.
That Mark McGuire money, it might be going back a little too far for you guys. But...
Yes, I didn't get that reference.
Steroids? Okay. That's all I remember Mark McGuire for now.
Well, he bought Todd McFarlane bought the home run ball, like the big world smashing, the record breaking home run for that.
Wait,
he bought that,
but wasn't that then like went away due to like steroids or something?
I mean it's still technically a record.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not really.
They were both. Baseball's both weird. Juiced up. So
yeah,
okay.
Baseball's really weird.
I wasn't sure if that tarnished it and made it worth less money, and that was where the joke came from.
I don't know if it made it less money, but I mean, it did tarnish the fun of that home run derby that summer, which was now like 20 some years ago with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire. It's weird that I'm saying all those sports names and knew who they were.
Yeah,
that's where your sports catalog just ended right there.
That's about all I know.
Okay. So yeah. Final verdict, it's necessary evil. You need it to be able to keep the price low enough for the shit that you do want. But if you are willing to spend extra money to get individual tooling, then invest in a fucking import line. Easy peasy.
And you'll get maybe, 5 to 12 figures a year.
I've gotten 5 to 12 figures in the past 2 months, so calm down.
From?
Mofex. My wallet has just been getting fucking railed since I came back to Ohio. So yeah, they do not have any chill. They're not putting out 100 figures a year like Marvel Legends, but
sounds like you need to open up an OnlyFans for your wallet.
I apparently do.
Does your wallet have feet?
I mean, I have feet.
No, nobody wants to see your nasty ass feet.
Everyone has
Not wallet, everyone.
Yeah, I was just saying you'd really stand out if you were showing the feet of your wallet. I think that's a new market.
What if I show the feet of the action figures?
Ooh, someone's got to be doing that, right? Action figure feet only.
I mean, we do have a show called OnlyFigs, so I feel like it's kind of like implied at this point that we should be doing that.
Okay, yeah, let's do that, and then with the proceeds we make, we'll put it to retooling this podcast.
Listen, we've revamped this podcast enough and it's actually doing okay, so I think we're good for now. But let us know in the comments below what your thoughts and feelings are. Are you sick of all the reuse? Would you pay extra money to get all new tooling, or do you not give a shit because you quit buying these action figures when the prices went up 6 months ago? As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe for more toy-related content. We've got reviews, top 10 lists, Smash or Pass, plus the podcast, Toy Therapy, all sorts of fun stuff you can check out. You can check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. You can check Jarmar out over on metal.tv/Jarmar Games. Nate, what you got for us?
I had a whole bunch of things, and you know what? It's just too much. It's too much. I got to let things breathe for a while.
Take a break.
I'm doing a little bit of me time, some self-discovery, some self-care. So, you know, I'm stepping away from all the extra shows, at least for the next, I don't know, 45 minutes until I can think up another one.
Alrighty then.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
Shit. Make sure to click on one of the videos down below where you can see this week's review or last week's OnlyFigs. But that's going to be it for us. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Same toy time, same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.
Sparkle farts.